When we're looking at the responsibility and the level of responsibility for either AWS or for the customer, we can take a look at the compliance levels for ISO 27001 and see where everything kind of fits. At the top, we can see physical security, secure disposal, entry controls, cabling security, communication security. If you think about these possibilities in the levels of compliance, this is what you're going to do with your data centers. And that's what Amazon does. If Amazon adheres to ISO 27001 compliance standards for their physical entities, then you have to assume those controls, and you do when you log in and create an account. So these are all different possibilities of what Amazon is doing to secure their resources before they actually launch the services and hand those services over to us. When we look at the physical and environmental security, data center security, well, that's got to be an Amazon responsibility. The security of the infrastructure, well, the racks, everything in the data center, the power and cooling, this is Amazon's job. When we look at access control, they provide us with identity and access management so we can decide on the level of access to the resources and services. When we look at data security, as we know, there's a life cycle when storing data in the cloud. It's stored somewhere. Eventually, it will get deleted. Well, if it's on an EBS drive, for example, Amazon has to ensure that that drive is cleaned off before it's offered to the next customer. For securing that data, they're always offering data encryption as a service, but we have to turn it on. For redundancy and durability of the data, they store the data records in multiple locations, which they've secured. When we look at network security, they have communication security at their level. We also have communication security at our level. Do we want to provide public access? Do we not want to provide anything but private access? The security of the network is totally up to us, but below the hood, Amazon has secured it first, i.e. the resources that are offering network security. And of course, they're separating resources as much as possible. So if they have a failure somewhere in the region, it's not going to make a complete failure of the resource because they have failover. Reviewing the security responsibilities when hosting applications at AWS, we have to understand the different possibilities of the different responsibilities when it comes to who does what job. We can define these as shared, inherited, and customer specific. Looking at shared responsibilities, we have EC2 instances, for example, hosted at AWS. The instances are sitting on top of bare metal servers and a hypervisor. Amazon has to patch those components. We have to patch our EC2 instances. In some cases, Amazon will have repositories available at AWS for us to connect to and patch our operating systems. When we look at configuration, well, Amazon configures the cloud for us to a point, and depending on the service that we actually sign up for, it might be completely configured like CloudTrail. We just use it, but then again, with CloudTrail, we can customize it and create additional trails to hold on to customized information that we want to hang on to for a period of time. So with configuration, they set up most of the configurations through managed services, but depending on the service that I order, there might be additional configuration that's my responsibility. In the area of fault tolerance, they don't provide any service other than an EC2 instance that doesn't have built-in fault tolerance. If I order an EC2 instance, it's up to me to add an additional EC2 instance, probably hosted behind a load balancer, to achieve the desired fault tolerance that I want to achieve. Other areas of shared responsibilities are, for example, availability zones. The availability zones are there. I can access the availability zones within a specific region using my AWS account, but it's up to me to use them. They can't force me to use them. It's up to me to choose to use multiple data centers in different areas to have fault tolerance and failover. Amazon has many different regions which are created all around the world. They're responsible for maintaining those resources in those regions. I'm responsible for choosing a region that matches my compliance levels. Amazon creates edge locations to connect to their regions, and the edge locations are sprinkled around the world in many different large population areas. It's up to me, the customer, to decide to use the services that are hosted at the edge. Amazon's responsibility is to be able to direct me to the closest edge location when my users are accessing application data and they want to be sent to the fastest location. Again, a shared responsibility. Other security controls are inherited. For example, Amazon starts off by defining account management. We inherit the ability of creating multiple users, but we initially just start off with the root user. It's up to me to manage my accounts effectively with, for example, proper password controls. I inherit the use of identity and access to set up users, groups, and roles, but I have to set those controls up. Amazon doesn't care what I do. I should care what I do based on my compliance levels that I want to achieve. If I host EC2 instances, I must host them in a virtual private cloud. Amazon provides the ability for me to build a virtual private cloud, and they also force me to use a virtual private cloud to host my EC2 instances. That wasn't always the case, but again, a security control that is developed by Amazon that I inherit. And finally, there could be customer-specific controls for the applications that I install, for the database credentials that I want to use, for the operating system logons. These are my responsibilities. I might get starting operating system logon credentials, but I'm going to want to change them so they're unique.